Viewers, and welcome to a new episode of Inside the Middle East. My name is Angie Meher, joining you for today's edition of the show. And as usual, we begin straight away with a look at some of the news making the headlines, beginning with news from home, where President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received a call from the King of Bahrain, Mohamed bin Isa Al Khalifa. During the phone call, President al-Sisi hailed the deep and strong ties binding the two countries, pointing out to the convergence of both sides' views over current issues and crises. The head of state asserted the significance of boosting joint efforts to restore peace and stability in the region. For his part, the King, Mohamed bin Isa, expressed solidarity and his sincere wishes for Egypt following the earthquake that occurred early Monday, expressing appreciation for Egypt's supportive stance for Bahrain and the Gulf countries in facing the challenges posed by the military operations in the region. Egypt, Qatar and Turkey have all expressed their strong condemnation for the ongoing Israeli violations in the Gaza Strip, particularly the targeting of healthcare facilities and medical infrastructure, as well as the resulting civilian casualties, including women and children. Mediators stressed the need for Israel to comply with all of its obligations under international law and fully uphold its commitments under the ceasefire agreement. The three countries affirmed that the continuation of these violations constitutes a breach of the agreement and undermines efforts aimed at implementing the second phase, particularly following the Hamas and Palestinian factions' announcement of their acceptance of the political roadmap. In more news coming away from the Middle East, 6 Saudi-flagged super tankers have changed course in the Gulf of Aden in recent days and are heading to southern Africa following threats by the Yemeni Houthi movement to target Saudi shipping. The tankers, which were empty of cargo after returning from destinations in Asia, were sailing in formation towards southern Africa rather than opting to transit the southern Red Sea via the Bab el-Mandeb choke point. The vessel, Saudi-based operator and other Saudi officials did not comment, and their journeys meanwhile will add at least 25 additional days of sailing time if they opt to cross Suez back to Saudi ports in the Red Sea. And to the recent developments with the U.S.-Iran war, U.S. President Donald Trump said talks with Iran were underway, warning that a last chance for Tehran to sign a good deal to end the 5-month-old war. However, Iran denied any negotiations were being held or planned. Trump said the sides were talking at the request of Iran, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar, amongst other countries. Trump's comments followed his decision this weekend to call off what he said would be massive attacks he had authorized on Iran, saying talks were to be held, repeating a pattern in which he has vowed major strikes only to cancel them. Of course, the Iranian-US war is today's topic that is under discussion on today's episode of Inside the Middle East. So do stay tuned for that. We'll be right back after the short break.
In the Middle East, the ground beneath our feet is telling a story of scarcity. Across a region that holds 6% of the world's population, but less than 2% of its renewable water, we are witnessing a quiet, systematic emergency. Scientists are no longer calling it a drought. They are calling it water bankruptcy. According to UN data, 15 of the 20 most water-stressed countries on the planet are located right here, in the Middle East. We are consuming groundwater far faster than nature can replenish it. Climate change is amplifying this pressure. As temperatures climb, evaporation rates spike, and historical rainfall patterns become a relic of the past. Experts at the International Water Management Institute warn that without a radical shift in how we manage our resources, the region faces a future defined by extreme depletion. But there is a parallel story of innovation. From large-scale desalination to smart irrigation, engineers are fighting to make every drop count. Yet these technical solutions are only half the battle. In conflict-affected areas, infrastructure is often the first casualty. When water systems are damaged, the most vulnerable citizens are left without the most basic necessity for survival. International humanitarian groups are working to bridge that gap, prioritizing decentralized water treatment and community-led storage. But these are temporary patches on a structural wound. The reality is sobering. The era of infinite cheap water is over. To ensure a stable future, the region must move toward unprecedented cross-border cooperation and a total redesign of agricultural and urban consumption. The desert has always been a place of resilience, but as the clock ticks down, that resilience is being tested like never before.
Iran denied any negotiations were taking place with the United States on Monday, sparking an angry backlash from President Donald Trump, who said he would keep up pressure on Tehran until there was a deal or total surrender. In what has become a familiar pattern, Trump last week had threatened to hit Iran very hard, potentially with renewed attacks against energy infrastructure, only to pull back on Sunday, saying the perimeter of the deal were there. Iran's Foreign Ministry, Abbas Araghchi, however, denied there were negotiations taking place and that they are negotiating currently with Oman to secure passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baqai said that the deal was closed on managing Hormuz together with Oman, which sits on the other side of the narrow waterway. He added that the two countries are now going to reach an understanding on a route acceptable to both sides, neither the northern routes nor the southern route, but one that respects the sovereignty rights of both sides and safeguard their national interests and security. He insisted that such an agreement did not mean the reopening of Strait of Hormuz, calling Tehran duplicitous for openly and proudly saying it was not negotiating. Trump wrote on social media, "Whether Iran wants to admit it or not, we are in fact talking of a solution to a problem that they have caused for decades." Trump had told reporters on Sunday that the new talks with Iran would cover Hormuz and ultimately Iran's nuclear program. Iranian lawmaker, spokesman for the Parliament's National Security Commission, said on Sunday that mediators were trying to revive the U.S. Memorandum of Understanding that was agreed in June.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're still with you and the afternoon's edition of Inside the Middle East. And now, very much delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for the afternoon, Dr. Mohamed Ezaby, the Professor of International Relations. Dr. Mohamed, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your time this afternoon. Now, Doctor, of course, today we're discussing the recent developments in the U.S.-Iranian war. After, weeks of tit-for-tat attacks and then different news coming from the United States on the one side and then from Tehran on the other side, U.S. President Donald Trump said that talks with Iran were underway, warning that it was a last chance for Tehran to reach a good deal. On the other side, Tehran denied that any negotiations were being held or even planned to be held. How do you see this recent development, Doctor?
I can see that Donald Trump, when he cancelled the strike towards Iran from 2 days, he didn't cancel it for negotiations. He cancelled it because of the reduction of the air defense missiles. He wanted to complete his readiness for defense and he wants to take some time to be ready to attack Iran. So he just say that we are negotiated with Iran, and Iran asked for negotiations. We always know that Donald Trump say something and after 1 hour say the opposite to what he said from 1 hour.
Well, tell me, Doctor, Doctor, tell me, why do you think, there's this shift from threatening military action to announcing renewed negotiations with Iran in such a short period? Do you see this back and forth kind of pressure or negotiating style, or is it a deliberate bargaining chip or strategy that the U.S. is using?
Well, it is not just threatened. We saw what Abbas Araqchi, we are not negotiated with the U.S. We saw what said by Ahmed Wahidi, that we are not ready to cancel our nuclear project. We are not ready to cancel our control on Hormuz Strait. So the two main point in negotiations that Donald Trump wants is to delay the nuclear project, is to control, is to free maritime and Hormuz Strait are declined by Iranian Revolutionary Guard. So just what did by Donald Trump, just he wants to take some time to give the chance to the mediators to convince Iran not to insist on the nuclear project, not to insist on control Hormuz Strait, just some time before he attack Iran again. Also, he wants to complete his readiness by the air defense missiles. He have a lot of reduction, especially that this strike, which cancelled by Donald Trump from 2 days, is arranged with Israel. So if Israel shared the United States in this strike, it means that Iran will send some rockets and some plans, many rocket strikes towards Israel. And we always saw that the air defense system is not ready in Israel. So he just wants sometimes to complete his readiness and give a chance to the mediators, especially that now we saw that Saudi Arabia involved in mediation between United States and Iran, beside Egypt and Turkey and Qatar and Pakistan.
And Oman, yes, and Pakistan. Which actually leads me, Doctor, to my next question regarding the role that the mediators are playing, and the Gulf states as well as Egypt, in keeping the communication channels open despite the public disagreement between the two warring sides.
Well, we saw His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and Dr. Badr Abdel Ati, even in the call with our President Masoud Pezeshkian, and the calls between Badr Abdel Ati and Abbas Araqchi. They tried to convince Iran to come back to negotiations table. Also, Pakistan tried to put some points that can be accepted by Iran and the United States, also Qatar and Saudi Arabia. So all the mediators try to stop any kind of escalation, try to convince the two parties to use diplomacy instead of the war. But up till now, the Revolutionary Guard is the only party in Iran who can take the decision, didn't accept anything about cancel a nuclear project, to free maritime in Hormuz Strait. Yesterday we saw Ahmed Wahidi said that we control Hormuz Strait for 100%. We saw the attack which happened in the Gulf of Oman toward the Qatari gas ship. So all of this, and now we saw that threatens from Houthi to close Bab al-Mandab. And the Arab countries and some other countries try to unify our troops to save the maritime in Bab al-Mandab. Now, all the ways led to that United States will strike Iran again. All what said about the negotiations, we can say it failed before its start.
Dr. Mohamed, now let's talk a bit about the reaction of the financial markets, oil prices, energy prices, the foreign exchange. How do these different markets react every time there's an announcement by the American President Donald Trump, once announcing a tax, then announcing withdrawal of a tax and negotiations with Iran, even before the other side, confirms or denies these possible talks? How do you see the reaction of the global markets?
So that when Donald Trump announced that he canceled the strike towards Iran, the oil barrel price reduced. When the United States attacked Iran, the oil barrel prices raised. So everything happened in the area of the Gulf and Iran and the Middle East affected the markets or international markets. International economy, especially that the oil supply chains stopped. 20% of the oil supply chains crossed from Hormuz Strait, and now it stopped completely. So it led to the oil price to be raised to $92 per barrel, and if the strikes continue and the war began again, I think that the oil price will reach to $100 and more.
Indeed. Now, Dr. Mohamed, let's talk a bit about, in your opinion, what are signs or some of the signs that people or observers should keep a lookout for, specifically to determine whether negotiations are likely to resume, produce some sort of lasting agreement, rather than another temporary de-escalation?
That the negotiation may be accepted, may be happened, but in my point of view, that this negotiation is failed before it starts. I said many times in Nile TV, and I'm proud that I said that in Nile TV, that all the way led to change the government system. Nothing will be accepted for Benjamin Netanyahu without change the government system. It's a deal between Donald Trump and Netanyahu. He signed a deal with Lebanon, and we will save the safety of Israel from Iran, and we will destroy the nuclear project. So without this, nothing will be happening. The only way that the negotiation to succeed is that Iran fully surrender to the American coach. And I think the Revolutionary Guard will not accept any American conditions, especially in the rocket project, in the nuclear project, and Hormuz Strait free maritime.
Now, Dr. Mohamed, we've seen, the drawing out of more and more countries, and from the very beginning, Egypt warned that this regional conflict would affect the whole world, whether politically or economically or security-wise, etc. Now, we've also seen the attacks on the Houthis by Saudi Arabian vessels, and we've seen the disturbances in the vital waterways, which has affected, of course, shipping routes all around the world. How do you see the escalation in this regard, with more and more countries being pulled into this regional conflict?
But in the next 3 months, we will not see Houthi again, we will not see Hezbollah again, we will not see I can say that the decision was taken by the United States and many other countries to cut all Iranian arms in the area of Middle East. Houthi, by threatening the maritime in Bab el-Mandab, encourage all the world to make a unified troops to take the maritime in Bab. Any try to attack the ships in Bab el-Mandab, it means that the international world, the international countries, many countries will hit Houthi by a very strong hits, by a very strong strikes, and they will end Houthi existence in Yemen. We saw all the countries now didn't confess with Houthi. They confess with Yemeni government. So also what is happening by trying to free Saudi Arabia, which is not accepted by Egypt. Any strikes towards any Arab Gulf country is not accepted by Egypt. And His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi announced many times that we are standing with the Gulf countries against the attacks from Iran and also the attacks from Houthi. And we not accept any kind of control from Houthi to Bab el-Mandeb. It means that Egypt and Arab Gulf countries will be a unity to save the maritime in Bab el-Mandeb and will not end the threat of Houthi towards the maritime.
Very quickly, Doctor, we're running out of time. Let me just ask you, in your opinion, if diplomacy fails, what are your expectations and possible scenarios in the region and the continuation of this tit-for-tat war and the attacks between the U.S. and Iran and the Gulf states?
I think that the plan was to attack the energy infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, the bridges in Iran, and I think Iran will be back 1,000 years ago.
And for the region, what does this mean for countries in the region?
For the countries of the region, I think that all the world will be affected by the reduction of oil supply chains. The international economy will suffer a lot when the war ends.
Right, we'll leave it at that. We have run out of time. I'd like to thank you very, very much, our dear guest, Dr. Mohamed Ezaby, the Professor of International Relations. Many thanks, sir, for your time and your insights and for joining us this afternoon on our show Inside the Middle East. And that wraps up today's episode. My name is Angie Meher. Many thanks for watching.